may deep down know our intuition is right. Like, how many times have you dealt with a narcissist and made a prediction via your intuition that turned to be completely correct, or at least mostly correct, and they continue to keep invalidating, your perspective, sometimes you think something's going to play out over and over and over again. Well, it's simple. You're the black sheep. You're not allowed to be right. And worse than that, they not only will never trust your intuition, they want you to never trust your intuition to make you disturb them and fall in line with their narcissistic plan. It's important to remember how strong your intuition is, and always remember to yourself how often your intuition becomes right, because it's very important for us INFJs and ENFJs to trust our intuition and not let other people invalidate trusting our intuition in order to fall in line with their plan. Because usually it's out of manipulation, especially if the person is a known narcissist or this narcissistic plan. They're trying to use you in some way for their own benefit, or just to simply get narcissistic supply from you. Just remember, in the eyes of the narcissist, it doesn't matter how strong your intuition is, how well you explain it, how well you explain the pattern of behavior that leads to the conclusion that you made intuitively. All that matters is that you're the black sheep and you're the one saying it, so you're not allowed to be right. Narcissists are big in delusion. So, if you are, quote, a black sheep or written off as, not part of their inner circle or their good old boys club, then it doesn't matter how much evidence you have, what you say, how well you can prove it, how well your track record's been. All that matters is that you're the one that's saying it. Someone who's been wrong about everything but is, quote, in the club, in the narcissist circle, one of their flying monkeys, they'll believe them every time, because narcissists live in a delusional world. They see the world as they want it to be, as they believe things work. And a lot of the times I've noticed that, they'll simply pull something out of their ass, when being asked how something works, and try to explain it, and they'll just think that whatever they say must be the truth because they're narcissists, because they're all knowing and they're always right. And even if they're not, they're so important and mighty that truth and reality will bend its will to make them right. This is stuff I've encountered, and I'm sure others of you have encountered throughout your lives too. And when dealing, with the golden child's always going to be right in the eyes of the narcissist. They can do no wrong. And there's that codependent relationship between the narcissist and the golden child. If you pay attention, a lot of times they're codependent on one another. They'll always back each other up. They'll always gang up on you to try to invalidate you. But the most important thing is to trust yourself and to not let the narcissist invalidate your intuition. Only you know how strong your intuition is, and with your memory, keep in mind how many times your intuition has been right on a certain topic, how many times, you've noticed the same pattern. And it's important for us not to make the same mistakes. All of us in our lives have been manipulated by narcissists into ignoring our intuition. And think about it. Did that end well? No, it never does. It really never does. Either you ended up working a job you hated, or moving to a city that you hated, or dating someone who treated you poorly. And the most important thing to remember is to not beat up yourself for not trusting your intuition. We're very hard on ourselves, like, oh, I, should have saw that coming, or I should have trusted myself. Don't be too hard on yourselves, especially if you were younger and never made that mistake before about not trusting your intuition. It happens to all of us, especially, with INFJs and ENFJs, with being such people pleasers and struggling to say no in our younger years, that people will talk you into ignoring your intuition, or you did it, in order to please someone, and it ended terribly. The important thing to remember is how that happened, and to notice the patterns to not let it happen again. The narcissist will always try to convince you that you know nothing, that you're incapable of thinking for yourself, that, only they
know things. Only their thoughts, their views are what's true, and they'll manipulate you and try to break you down mentally in order to see things their way and just simply fall in line with what they want for you. But remember, they're not looking out for you. All they care about is themselves. All they care about is their own narcissistic supply. You're just a pawn on a chessboard. You're just, a means to an end for them to get what you want. They don't care what happens to you, what effects their machinations have on you. All they care about is their end result, and they'll do anything necessary in order to get to it. They'll use, exploit, abuse whoever they have to in order to sit high on their pedestal and look down as if like they're this great person. That's what narcissists are obsessed with, their own image, how people view them. If people fawn adoration for them or respect them or think them as, some great intellect. They don't care what they do, quote unquote, behind the scenes or who they hurt. It's all about, how their group or society or whomever views them as some great person. So in terms of trusting your intuition, understand, that like there's articles out there you can read for yourself that it says our intuition is usually right about 85% of the time. It's pretty good odds, and I'm not a betting man, but those are pretty good odds. So always trust your own intuition above all else. I mean, I'm not saying only solely listen to your intuition, but in your head, your intuition should be the loudest voice in the room, and when in doubt, should be what you defer to if you're not sure of something. Because more than likely, your intuition is telling you the way something's going to play out. And if you're unsure, try to gather more information on the subject, try to run that through your intuition and your introverted thinking, and see how it plays out then. But don't invalidate your intuition just because the narcissist doesn't allow you to be right and has invalidated your intuition your whole life. That doesn't make your intuition wrong. That makes them delusional, especially if you explain to them, how many times you've been right and show them the patterns of how things similar have played out in the past. That's not a fault of your mind. That's a fault of their mind. You know, your intuition is there to guide you, and it usually is pretty right, and don't let that be invalidated just by some narcissist who's trying to manipulate you for your own ends. Thanks everybody for listening into this. It's important advice, and please like and subscribe.